And welcome to this lecture on advanced medicinal chemistry. My name's Mitchell Lowe. I'm a technical manager and researcher for the National Institute of Complementary Medicine, and this will just be an introduction to my research career and an overview of what I'll be talking about in the coming lectures. So a little bit about myself. I've been studying and working at the University of Western Sydney for a bit over 10 years now. So I started my Bachelor of Chemical Science in 2005, and that was a advanced science degree, so it had a research career focus. And then in 2009, I went on to do my honours, which I did with Dr. Cheng Ku, the senior analytical chemist, and that was working on Andrographis paniculata, which I continued to work on in 2010 when I began my PhD. At that time, I was working part-time as a QC chemist for the National Institute of Complementary Medicine, as well as demonstrating and tutoring for the school for first-year chemistry, analytical chemistry, inorganic chemistry, organic chemistry, and physical chemistry. Obviously not all at once, but yeah. In 2013, I was lucky enough to get a full-time contract at NICM. That was as a technical officer and research assistant. And I'm still working at NICM now. And I was lucky enough to complete my PhD in 2015 and have that submitted. So I haven't graduated yet, but the PhD is done. I'll talk a little bit about my research in the other lectures. This was my honours project, phytoequivalence of standardised Andrographis paniculata extracts. So we were partly funded by industry to do this project. So it was looking at one of their extracts and their standardization process and seeing if it was produced an extract with consistent chemistry, and then if the variation observed in the chemistry was also pharmacologically significant. And then in 2010, I continued with the same herb and Cheng Ku in the NICM labs as well. And we were looking more at an in-depth study at the anti-inflammatory properties of the major component of Andrographis paniculata, and also some other derivatives that we synthesized. So a little bit about NICM, where I currently work. It was established in 2007 by a joint government and university fund. It now has over 50 researchers and major international partners, mostly in China. So there's three main research areas of focus: preclinical, analytical, and pharmacology, which is kind of where I slot in, clinical studies, and then translational studies, which look at the, bigger picture, kind of like implementation in policy and things like that. So this is the Building 18 on campus, Campbelltown campus, where the NICM labs are. So we've got the TGA certified analytical lab. This is where I did most of my honours project and some of my PhD work, as well as where I was working as a QC chemist, and now I'm technical officer for and do a little bit of QC work there as well. So I'll talk more about the equipment there and the techniques that we use in coming lectures. So this is the PC2 pharmacology lab. So PC2 means physical containment level 2. This is where I do most of my research in anti-inflammatory cell-based assays. So you can see in the corner here we have the designated cell culture room, which is a clean room just for cell culture. And then we have a designated PCR room here as well, and the glass partitioned offices, which I'm in, just over to the side here. NICM's also recently expanded into the adjacent lab, which is set up as an extraction lab now. So you can see we're still moving in, but that was just to make room for more research. This is just a bit of an outline of what I'll be talking about in the coming lectures. So this was the introduction, and then I'll be talking about drug discovery. So the importance of drug discovery and the opportunities that traditional use of natural products presents as a source of drug discovery. Then I'll be talking about the analytical techniques that we use to quantify what's in the herb and compare between herbs, or natural or other natural products. Isolation techniques, so the techniques that we use to pull out the components of interest so that we can further identify them or test them individually in cell-based assays or however we like. So I'll be talking more about structural elucidation techniques that we use in Chapter 5, and then about the cell culture basics to set us up to talk about the in vitro screening assays in Chapter 7. So there'll be the general assays that we use, and then in Chapter 8 we have some more specific assays that are a bit more cutting edge, and yeah. And then in Chapter 9 I'll talk to you a little bit more about further considerations in drug discovery, mostly pharmacokinetics and things like that. And then Chapter 10, we'll just kind of do a bit of a summary, a wrap up of the other chapters, just a bit of an overview, which might be handy as a study tool. So yeah, that's the plan. That concludes this chapter.